Sister Brown's niece. And we continue to encourage her to continue to sing for God.
Going further to ask the panelists to come forward along with the moderator at this time. Thank you.
Which was it?
'Good evening, young airways and border airways. Good evening. You have heard the topic already, and just want to make a quick introduction, then we'll get into the meat of the matter. As you heard the topic, are the men using their role in the church and in the society. Now the objectives of this discussion is one, to define what is the role of men in the society and in the church, and what impact their role will have on the future males of our church and the society, whether the impact will be a negative one or a positive one. Secondly, to understand how they cope with the challenges they encounter on a daily basis. For the Christian male, they have the Bible, their church family, and their extended biological family, etc. But we want to know, are there any other mechanisms when they face trials and things like that they use to cope with it, right? Now this evening, we have 6 males who will share their experience, their opinions, and facts relating to the topic. I have Omar and Renee, 2 young fathers with toddlers. Dwayne, a primary school teacher. Fabian, a young male working in a company, and his dad is a lay preacher in a Sunday church. And then I have Dave and Brother Marshall, who have adult children, right? Now, when you look at this combination, you're going to see that they all have to interact with other males, and they should have some sort of experience as how males interact with each other, how they behave, what their aspirations are, and so on. Now, in Dwayne's case, most likely he will interact with the children, their father, or whatever, and even those young children, he will be able to tell how they will behave and how they will behave. Now, I just want to ask a simple question. Relax yourself, please. Some of you look too stiff. Just tell me something about your father. Just say something simple about your father. Anyone can start.
Okay, let's take this off first. My father, he's a retired military man. So basically, he has this strict regime whereby this must be done in order. And to But seeing now that he has retired, he's always late. My father is always late. But he is strict in this area as well. He makes no that everything is done we're done in decency and in form. So that goes up like that always be for the party. When the brother will tell you that.
Anybody else?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My father is a man. True sense of a word. He's a man. And they can tell you that my father loves me very, very much. And I think that's important. It's not only, it's hardly said, it's mostly felt. Right? Up to this day, I still have a great fear for him. As that's not fear in terms of obedience, that's a fear in terms of true sense of fear. Right? Along with that, I can remember there was once where my father scolded me once. And if anyone is close to me, they know the story. To make a long story short, he hit me so hard that my mother prayed. Right? And they just stood there and they looked at it. Because I guess I was most shocked at first he hit me because my father has never scolded me, never really had reason to. It was the look, that aura, that man should carry. Okay? That's why he said he's a man in the true sense of the word. Because there's a presence and an aura that a man carries that a woman does not have. Okay? That's probably apart from my mother. He does not have that aura. Okay? So that's a little insight into who my father is.
My father was a loving person. He was a strict disciplinarian, and he was the leader of a particular area in the church for the Salvation Army. Used to lead the Salvation Army in that particular district. So he had to be in church, whether church was at school or wherever, he had to be there. And as I said, he was strict disciplinarian. He loved us, all his children. And there are things that you would have gotten away with him, but on the other hand, my mother, she never got away with anything, right? He was one that would always be helpful, not only to our family, but to others. And people and children, they all are respected and loved in him.
Anyway, church. Like me and my father, loving guy, but he was not a disciplinary person. I was never spanked even once by my dad. I probably deserved a lot, but I wasn't. He burned the black guy. He's one of those guys like if, one of those tough guys that if you get hurt, get upset. You were not out of the curve, so he'll go away. He's not one of those guys that you would go and have like a conversation about, lightweight, because, he's one of those masculine where guys that, that if we're going to have a civil, normal conversation with love or whatever, not that type of thing. So, I was just hoping that I don't turn and play that, but which way the men with love stories was there and we got it. So that's yesterday.
My dad was one who came from the school. Like John, very strict but loving. And he always had the look. He says something once, he stares me down. I recall one incident where every weekend, if my mom would come, if I go this Saturday near at the stop, my brother would go the next morning. And I was in Scouts. I got an activity at the school, and I went across early to kill two birds with one stone. And I would come out on occasion to see if she came up. But you know, I got caught up in the activity at school. And I completely forgot to go and look for her. And as they were, they had just sent forth to the shop to buy biscuit and cheese and drink for us. So I didn't get in the first batch, so I was waiting the second batch. When I first for one said, their father did. Well, I was upstairs and he was downstairs on the bicycle. And I think of parks to school and St. Margaret's with him. He said, this is all he said. Get home before me. And with that, it was down the steps. Wrong, it wasn't the beginning. But check me running. I ended up back and the boys were coming and they're running. And believe you me, when they swing to go in the house, the man all the boys were going and caught me, right? And then I go off in it. But we were all trained up. We all in church and we all had to go to school. If they didn't go, we had to go. So I would say that I have learned a lot from him when he was alive. And yes, there were things that he would have done that I would not do. But at the same time, the positive things that I've learned, I've taken that to heart. My dad. Me and my dad had a pretty good relationship when I was younger, between the ages of what do you remember? So 16 or so. Then after that we I don't want to say how to quit, but being a Christian can't be people had a strong dislike for him because of a particular incident that happened today. But I guess I'll move on from that. We were trying to make Francis as a mentor to the encouragement. That's what I got to see is one child. So we're trying to make Francis. Yeah. It's got to be there.
And we need to continue to pray for him more. Okay, thanks for sharing, gentlemen. And I just want you to remember that the topic, we're going to look at the topic in the sense of the ordinary man on the street, but more so we're going to be looking at him as a Christian. Yeah. My next question is, what is so great about being a man? What is so great about being a man and by extension, a Christian man? What makes you feel so special that you are a man? Anyone can answer? I think Dwayne touched a bit on it. Yes, we talked about that.
Oh, okay. Everyone knows the physical benefits of being a man. Yeah. Because we go through month to month and everything is okay. Anyhow, but being a man, right? Being a man, I find it a privilege, honestly, to be a man. especially a Christian young man, right? Because it is something that I can see the benefits of in my job, especially where men are so scarce and where you really need men to be men. Okay, I'm not a father yet, like yet. Hopefully I will be a father when God sees fit. But the Christian aspect of a man now is the part that I find really interesting and really fun, but yet still a serious responsibility. I don't want to jump ahead, but probably to answer one of your questions there that will probably come in this evening, I believe that there is a decline. I don't know if to say a slight or rapid decline in the Christian realm where men are concerned, right? And it's because of that decline or that rapid decline within the church that makes me even more proud to be a man. If you get what I'm saying. Right. Good. So from that aspect, I am proud to be a man. The influence men should have, I think they have. The aura a man should have, I think they have. The physicality, the physicality that a man should have, I have. Right? So those three areas in mentioned, I love being a man, a Christian young man.
Gentlemen, want to answer the question?
I believe that what it appears as if, and it looks as if men are on decline, especially in church. I believe that. I'm glad that I'm a man. And I believe that one of my responsibilities as a man is to look after, care for the young men in church. And I feel that and believe that when we do that as men in the church, we are preparing them for tomorrow. I was saying to some recently, we will not always be here. And hence, you who are the younger ones need to take the mantle and run with it. And if it means that, and if you do not take the responsibility, know that we are here to learn from us. If tomorrow we are gone, what will happen to you? How will you know what to do? So for me, being a man today, a Christian young man, it's a good thing. And yes, when you look around and you see more men in church, more women in church than men, I still believe that God has given the man the responsibility to lead, and that is what man should do.
I am extremely proud of you, and as a Christian man, in growing up in church, basically, we were taught proper Christian values about getting in church. So basically, in the past, we had like the cookouts and spend time in church, teaching how to do service, and that helped that area development of myself and younger Christians, younger guys, but being other younger persons who would be here. And we had examples of the to point us in the direction that we should go. And that also, that helped me proud to become a Christian man because of the examples that I had.
One thing that I also believe, I said this morning in class, at midpoint. I find it was cool. And as I say, we were trained. I came up in that area where you have to listen, you have to do this thing. And let's go back to primary school. Both primary school, some elementary school. When I went for him on events, but go ahead and give him a look at the rumble. When he came with his short hair out, he thought he was king. And the first evening I said to him, you went home so? I was taught that the same way you leave home, you come back. Put your shirt in your pants. He put his shirt in his pants and he came home that evening like the same he left. Sweaty yes, but the same he left. I ain't had to say that a second evening because from primary school to secondary school, every time he got there, he would never get any dinner unless he was fully clad. And yes, there were some that I gave them to come to bring up to. And I asked him, you want so? Yeah. And so when he started coming to me, yeah. But I'm saying him, but he wouldn't try that. And to this day, if you see him, to this day, it's the same thing, the same relief. He is at BCC. The same relief is come back. Even though the course is doing, it does the same thing. So I'm saying that if you train them right, they will continue all the way through.
Being great as a man, right? I believe, or when I come to know that I've been born in the end of the world. Right? That alone tells me that where I've come from and it seems to me my destination. Right? You know that you've been created for a particular purpose, and to be able to fulfill that purpose and to enjoy life here and now, and to be able to share that responsibility, to be able to let a mark or others to follow, which will be a big mark as long as you follow the path which you are on, which is the path that God will let us. And again, to know that you have been created in the image of God, it tells you that God is your creator. And whatever you do, whatever you set in life to do, and you make God first in your life, every other decision that you make becomes secondary. And so I believe that I am great that God made me this way. It can either be man or woman. There is no middle ground. Amen. So in this world there's middle ground, trying to create middle ground. But you can only be a man or woman. So I believe that the man is complementing the woman and the woman is complementing the man. And I believe that that's the way that God made it and it should remain to the end. Amen.
Okay. My second question, I think Dave touched on it a bit, but I'll expand on it some more when we talk about mentoring young men. We often hear in the media, and on the street, in the home, and sometimes in the forums like these, that men are not living up to their role. What is this role that men have to live up to? And secondly, as Seventh-day Adventist males, how do you see your role in Grace Church? At the present and the future. First question, what really is this role and how men actually live up to that role that people always say they are not living up to? Everybody don't have an answer?
Right now. I just feel that our roles are supposed to be leaders. But in these times, I find that gentlemen tend to stand away from leadership. A lot of us don't want to take responsibilities that are given to us, and that causes the problems right there, right then. as men, we are supposed to be at the forefront. While people look on to us, we are supposed to be setting an example to these young guys that are looking up to us. Because at this time, they are going through stuff that we went through when we were young. But if we choose to ignore and be by ourselves and keep all that information that we have learned, maybe it was their age, and keep it to ourselves, then we are selfish. So I feel that as men, we are supposed to keep our chest high and instead of our mistakes, what we have learned from them, and all that I've done in the past, and show these youngsters the way they should live.
I've always said this. When you compare society always condemns you. And what is true that the young, they don't look good sometimes. I always say this because I am to try to help you to understand. God called you and made you in His image, and He made you special. And you need to make sure that you live a life that will say to society, I am a Christian young person. Do not allow what they say of you to be true. If you live up to what God requires of you, what they will say of you is, this is a Christian young man. And this is why I try to help people to understand. Because if we don't, as my brother just said, if we do not teach them the right way, they will be taught. And what they will be taught will be contrary to the will of God. So our role as men in the church is a very big and awesome responsibility that God has laid upon us. The Bible says that men ought to do what? Train up, teach. Yes, it speaks about the women teaching, but in this case, as we look at men, our role as men is to mentor and to try to bring them up in the fear of God. Recognizing also that in some cases, some of them don't have the father figure at home. So therefore, again, it's our responsibility as men of the church to ensure that we lead them in the right direction.
I believe that the role of man in the church today is a very heavy responsibility. I believe that God has called men and women out of darkness into light, and He's given to man and our responsibility. I believe that we are to mirror the image of God. We can't mirror the image of God unless you look towards God. Right? I believe that we are to be as ambassadors. We are to be able to exert a positive influence. We are to be able to exhort, to encourage, and to be an example of the believers. Among other things, I believe that this is God's calling to us today, to be able to do what He says in light of all the opposition which comes around us, even from within the church and without. We are to stand firm, to be not one, to be ones who others will look to us. And I believe that if we do what God has asked us to do, that it will not only be a blessing to us, but it will be a blessing to those who come after us.
Reading back to you, you said that there's some areas that you see that decline in men in the church. In their roles, what is the areas that you see decline? You said that earlier.
Yeah, I think Rainier mentioned it. Yeah, Rainier mentioned it, or touched on it just now in terms of leadership. I find that even if they are in the leadership position, they don't take their leadership responsibility seriously. So they're there, yes, as a face or a figurehead, but what they're actually supposed to do, when I stay where I am and I see, it doesn't seem as though they're taking it seriously. So mostly in terms of their leadership. But what I want to add and say is that sometimes we can be mentors, or I should say we should be mentors in a very practical way that these youngsters can understand. And I'm speaking like, when you strip it right down, in terms of our dress, our deportment, understand the way we speak, the language we use, the jargon that we use, they emulate and they communicate, even the way I relate to my mother, the other people. These young men see these things, and those are practical areas which I believe sometimes we fall short in because we don't see them as serious or important, but they are. Because we get that right, moral state, understand? Being kind, important. Even in an environment where, this is very important, in an environment where it's not within these four walls. That's really something where you see a man as a man. Okay, outside of these four walls, when we are interacting amongst each other, they get to see how we talk. Okay, they get to see how we live. Feeling mentioned earlier about when we used to go on camps. Very important. I can remember one time I was beaten to a pulp, right? By some young men in this church. Because glory. What is that? I was beaten, right? And for a good cause, right? And I believe it served me well to this day because there's a member, I can tell you this, means I has left yes, and that is important, right? Those things I believe in a very practical and tangible way are very, very, very important. When you get those things aside, then it is easier to reach these now very spiritual aspects because you have reached them where it most matters, right? So then when you come now and you introduce or you show your lifestyle those things which are spiritual, look at them.
Alright, so it will be that Christian male members of the church are having an activity assigned to them. So the young men can go because everything is more than transparent. Whereas in the world, they might not want them there because they might have some things that they can enjoy, but other things that they should be there. This leads me to my third question. In these economic times, there has been an upsurge crime among males, a further decline in morals, deviant behaviors, among other things. Stealing, white-collar crimes, etc. Do you believe that men are having a hard time coping with life? And that's why they resort to crime. And I want it from a Christian's point of view in regard to men on the outside. Do you believe that men are really having a hard time coping with the pressures of like home, raising children, staying after their own needs, etc.?
From a Christian standpoint, yes, I would say it's kind of hard because you have to be above board where everything is concerned about the man on the outside. To find all type of different means that may ends meet, so to speak. But the Christian, you have to be legit where everything is concerned, or supposed to be legit where everything is concerned. So I would say yes, it's hard for a Christian to be an ends meet, especially with the family and what's not.
Okay, as a Christian, we know that as long as we put our trust in God, He would supply all needs. It won't always be a bit rosy, but we know as long as we put our trust and we continue to trust in Him, we don't know what will come, but have that faith that God will supply all your needs. And usually, sometimes there are times where you really don't have money, and you ask God, you tell God you don't have any money. And you believe that at some point in time, even though you don't see where the next step will come from, but you trust in God that you will go to work today because you don't have that spirit. And for some reason, somebody passed in your that is God. And then you are at work that day and somebody passed let's do something. Look how you had this figure to work the same thing, forget. See, that is God right here. So because she trusted in God, He provided her need. You know, the guy on the street. Another example, some people don't know, they come and say, in this last summer. And the first thing I was asked on me, it's from the ego of gambling. They say, they want to encourage gambling, they want to Christian, they want to encourage you with that. Normally, now the persons who knew them want to and they spend the money gambling. And it so happens that a friend of mine, she spent $100 and it was $60. And because she wanted that money, she wanted to gamble. There she was going, friend, where's the gambling? But he said, well, I don't gamble. So that was that in a nutshell. But people who are Christians will tend to seek other avenues to get what they want done, whether it be above board or below board. And you'll be surprised to see some of the things that people, the level that the person will stoop to get bills paid, stoop to send children to school. So, as a Christian, we know that we depend on God. The person born Christian is don't really take the call of God. They will believe in God, but they don't trust in God to supply their needs. So, to answer that question, I think the men in the world tend to have some. Tend to have it. Some. Tend to have it.
Alright, my view is that because I mean both sections. I can tell you what the guys think about their work, I can tell you what the guys think about the church form. I say in a way that the guys know that on the streets or whatever I work, or some of them that you see that get one big crank or whatever, or lazy. Some guys don't want to work. It's not a matter of them, they can't get any money. It's that they don't want to go there and work for it. So I know when you find a guy who want to grow marijuana, you find a guy that want to sell cigarettes or whatever, because you don't want to go and do hard work. Now if you come to school and you don't have the certificates or whatever, for you to get, you know, a proper or whatever. And it comes to a point where that you say about that, I'm all day, he working, he making enough money. And what you want. But how do you get what you want if you just sit and want to go? Now guys, what is the thinking? They go plan B, they go rob somebody. Now, that is not that poor. In the church form too, you got guys that they will say that they're praying to God. But they ain't doing nothing for themselves. All they want is praying to God, but they ain't doing nothing. Exactly. So how do you expect God to help you? And you help yourself. They look at it, you're going to look at it and pray for it. You may see you praying. You don't do nothing.
The next question, we're coming down to the end, and then we're going to take questions from the congregation. What are some of the major fears men face? And when I say fears, I mean two problems. Sometimes men go through fears that they keep to themselves, that they might not want to tell their wives, of fear of discovering their peace or causing them to work. What are some of the things that men really face fear? Whether it could be in their homes or in their personal lives. What it is that they fear? Fear
I think what is the most disturbing thing about picture, and this is just one picture, others nothing. Things may not work well together. Yeah, they're not ready. They didn't say it long enough. Things may not work in the kitchen. So I think that the most disturbing things about it, you can't get more than what the race in the kitchen. Okay, right? Yeah, they do good. Anything that is more, that is one of the most disturbing, knowing full well. Well, knowing full well. I am not married, I cannot further elaborate on this, but I have experience, so I can. So I guess one of our persons here may come play. So
that might be one of the parents about everything anyway. But who's prepared to answer to elaborate on 5 minutes?
That's another good one, John. Next one.
I know there's one person in there, and here it was the perfect answer.
Right. Okay, alright, I'm not going to elaborate on what payment nation. Right, that's right. So what I will say is that men fear women.
Yes.
Believe they fear women. And when speaking, I'm not speaking in all cases. If you take a sample out, you got some men in there that fear women. Some men fear women. Yeah, some. That's a real fear. Because fear of women is a serious thing. So that's a real fear, right? Secondly, not being able to provide. You see men not able to provide for their families. Now the real giving point comes in, right? They will do anything. They will do anything because that leads to the third point now. And the third point I would say is that men fear their egos being bruised. Yes. So men got big egos, right? Some people bigger than themselves. You understand? When you feel the man's ego, what people mention, not be able to, right? You touch a part of a man that is very, 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 very sensitive, right? This probably stems from point 3, but men have a big fear of being small. You see, they make a man feel less than a man, as they will put it, that's the next fear. Okay? And they got real fear. The next fear I've heard, and this coming from Byron May, is a man who lives with a career woman. You know what they say, a career woman. A woman who is on par with him in terms of his education, or probably on par slightly above, right? You see, when it comes to decision making, and when it comes to provision, or when it comes to independence within a marriage, a great fear that some women place on men, either purposefully or unintentionally, but nevertheless, it is interpreted and felt by the man that is placed there, because men know a real man love to be breadwinner, love to like that's the world of a man. Anytime a woman brings in a salary and income that rivals a man, and she tends now to make it known, hey, I am making just as much as you or more than you. That does something very serious. So those are the fears, I would say, that men have.
Points, and those are what I want to hear. Now, I have 2 more questions. Women are saying that they want to be independent and not be dependent on man. Can such a statement hurt church and society? Women are saying that they want to be independent and not to be dependent on a man. Can such a statement heard in church?
But I think that basically that's what you're doing with the scene. That finishing what you're saying. When you have a woman who is like that, thinks like that, and behaves like that, it comes back to what you're saying. It really is the man because she thinks above board that she is. When in truth of the fact, God placed the man. What the woman should do is to recognize the role, and that is the man is to behave. What they should do is to work together. But well, it is true that there are some women, a lot of women like that. Thank God, all in so. I would have listened to. I read this article some time ago. This lady was a successful lady. Good job, big house, car, you name it. The whole gamut she had. Her honest thing was she had a child. She didn't want a man, but she wanted a child. No, I mean, I read it then, and you know, I pondered it, and even to this day, it baffled me. But here's what the article said: the lady got involved with a man, and eventually she got pregnant, and she had a son. Well, for her word was complete. The next thing she would have done was went and got herself tied off, no more children, because she was complete for her, so she thought. Unfortunately, as the child grew some time ago, remember she got rid of the man because she got what she wanted. Sometime later, the child was riding a bicycle and eventually found the road on the bicycle. That was the end of him. And it was also the end of her reproduction. So she thought because of what she had, that was it. But men have a role, and I would like to say that encourage women to treat the men with respect. When you look at what the Bible says that the man is to be the head, but also it says that the woman is to be the one to help me to complement. So they're supposed to go hand in hand, and that's why we see the role. But as I say, the question I gave it really for what Brother Bay would have said just now.
Briefly I would just like to say that I don't necessarily think it can hurt society. It can hurt society depending on the extent to which it's carried to. Because trust me, every gender has their measure of independence. You can't get away from that. I do not want to blame a woman who will be independent, but not independent of their man. See, that's a difference, though, right? You can have a certain measure of independence. But when you tell yourself, I don't need a man, I don't want a man, you say with this man, you know, like disdain and hatred towards me, that's where you're carrying overboard. Alright? A woman will like to achieve certain things on her own, just like a man. She's a human too, just like a man. I have no problems with that. She's ambitious, she deserves certain things, she wants to have certain things, and that's great. That's wonderful. But when it comes to the point where you tell yourself in your mind, where you have settled in your mind that you don't want the man, I make one, that is where it becomes damaging to both the home and then by extension to society. So,
with 1.5 minute, I want you to tell me if you could have a conversation with any man who has ever lived, who would it be and who? Half a minute. If you could have a conversation with any man who has ever lived, who would it be and
here?
Job. Yeah. Because Job had his same thing that was like none other. There is nobody on earth that can tell me that you get afflicted, you lose your children, your wife on the verge of leaving technically, can you curse God and you just have an affliction of one after the other, and you will say, yes Lord, will you stay be able to still trust you? There is no person I can think of that would say that. So I would want to have a conversation to find out how he felt when he was doing this thing. Even though I would read about it, I would want to hear the personal experience for himself. The mental anguish he was going through. How he felt when these things first happened. I just want to hear his experience by himself, or even though I have read about it, I just want to hear it from God himself.
Well, I suppose there are many names I could think about, but one guy that I would like to know is a legend. I mean, he stood and he represented God. I mean, big time. Big in a big way. And then after getting rid of all them false prophets, after doing such a wonderful job, then he get a message from a woman that said, well, tomorrow this time, in essence, you will be dead. And the brother ran. That's blasphemy. So we know from him really what he was thinking. The same God who was with him when he got rid of all those false prophets. Why is it that he hard and ran so hard at the message that was given him that he can lose his life, he can die? That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. So I would like to hear from him really. Why I respect him. And for what he did, I don't really know why the woman said he can die. And he ran.
Mine would be Paul. We all know that Paul persecuted the Christians, well, not Paul, Saul persecuted Christians. And then he came Paul after, God met him. Now, I would like to ask him how he felt in that situation and how he felt after you killing people and then you have to go and stand up for them after find out the truth. I would also like to find out his journey, because in the Bible you only write so much, they do not write the whole thing. So I'd like to find out his journey and basically what he did.
Yeah, mine would be seeing Paul. I'd be able to speak to Paul and find out how he could do through the life that he did. We didn't have any children of his own. But Paul, all the writers, he was able to exhort, encourage, and influence families right through Ephesians verses and verse 4. Right? Even as a mother cared for her children, she was able to do this, and the efforts of this great exhortation that we can use today. Although he didn't have any great children of his own, he was able to have this influence.
Susan was telling to it is interesting because I guess it all started out of the so to speak. And where was one state at one time I story was told I guess my question to him would be, why was he led astray to that was the question.
It probably missed your question because all these days here mentioned about the character. You got so many people they talk about Mahatma Gandhi. And all the mentioned political characters. You actually political characters. And they start Aristotle. You understand? Plato. You understand those days? Those great philosophers. You literally call those days. Don't get me wrong. I hate discriminating against political characters. I gotta choose it, but I don't want to be far. David, I didn't call it. What can I call it David? Because David seems the way I can relate to. You understand? These things I can relate. I would just like to know from David why he had to be on that road call. When I think I really want it, but I never found out why would you be on his name. From here, all the David's hosts got cursed because the power woman and saw what he saw, and then he did what he did. So I just want to know why would your man the old plate, or in case name, you are king, and just on the top.
Quite fast. In that congregation have their opportunity to ask a question, but before you ask, Pastor Brown, would you kindly
Yes.
Give him a mic.
Well, he hit the nail on the head. Something like that can drive a man crazy. And he can be going out of his mind in a tailspin if that is his experience, especially if it is perceived in his mind that it will be a prolonged experience and not a short one. That can drive him crazy. To prove the point, after a crusade, we were having a discussion similar to this, and the brother got up and said that the doctor told a fellow who had a particular ailment that he has the remedy for him. However, the medicine will make him impotent. If he does not take the medicine, though, he would die. And the man decided not to take the medicine, and he died. And all women in town were rocking and laughter. He died because he wanted sex. So you see, it's to that extent. He knew what was going to happen, and yet he did not take the medicine because he could not live with the thought of not being able to stand up at attention when the bedroom national anthem is being played.
First, when Brother Ben was speaking about men not taking your role of leadership serious. My question to Brother Ben would be, why is that? Because they're going to have some reason why they're not taking it serious. Why do you think is the reason for them not taking it serious? But at least is number one. So to answer your question, I believe they don't fully understand the importance or the seriousness of their role as a leader. If you understand that, then more often than not, you'll act. Alright, I can agree with you, right? Now, you can't understand what nobody helps you to understand. Alright, you're not something that you just don't understand unless some person show you anything. They look for you, they look, oh, that's, you know, all of a sudden this light bulb goes off. A lot of men are not being mentored by men.
Satan's objective is to get the man. It was the same thing back in the garden, alright? It was just collateral damage. It was to get Adam. He's still out for Adam all now. Destroy the man, you're going to destroy everything. When you do not have men, and when Brother Payne was talking about mentoring boys, that's very important. When men do not take a boy or boys under their wing and mentor them in the right way, they can't know how to lead. The boys, this pattern, boys. This is not to say nothing negative, but when you have you got a lot of single parent families these days, led by females, right? That raising a lot of girl boys. Boys that actually the bottom, they're just snapping away. So then boys be in there. That was my father saying, look, you guys belong with one. I mean, cut the heel. That was what the cells and stuff for. Lord, no, they don't fall down. But instead of letting the boy be a boy, the females have them so soft. You got some boys that so soft. Honestly, you got some boys that so soft. I'd be proud to remember my son playing with them because they're always friends. Always, every year, all the boys with them. And you know it's always friends. And you're running home, mommy, you're running home, you're running home. Come on, you boys are not being mentored by me. So you're getting these boys that really confused. And when they run up with other boys, and I'm talking world boys, when they run up with these other boys that being mentored by the father or the uncles or good men, they have a problem relating to them. Now, Brother Fabian, when they asked what one of the major things that we found that made fear, I personally would fear when I can't support my family. Honestly, that if that was to happen, I believe that might talk that, but say that you know, honestly, when a man can't support his family, and this is really, he's a Christian man, if he's a Christian man, it's far more, but even if he's a pro, and he can't support his family, first thing, mentally, he thinks, and they're talking for me now, alright? You guys have got it up now, but mentally, I think, you know, sooner or later, despite how nice my girlfriend is, or how nice my wife is, she got a limit to this thing, you know, alright? And when they do drop these little remarks, like my man will be the next and going, alright? And that's the reality, okay, and when a man seeing that, or thinking that, even though it ain't happening yet, it ain't happening yet, but when a man thinking that, it begins now to affect all other parts of the relationship, and it really destroys them on the inside. That too can bring about, you know, not being able to stand that attention and all those other things.
I was 40 though. I was 42.
All of these studies here today, I haven't heard anybody say that. I'd like to know that as a man, a woman comes up to them and says, you are handsome, you're good looking, you look nice. I haven't heard anyone say that even when he's
Be very careful of what you see or ask.
But it feels good to know as a woman. I like to know because you look nice looking or hair looks good. But I see a man, and he looks good with him, but you're handsome. And then what you're wearing for him. So and maybe that man I don't know.
Let's get your share. I would have mentioned earlier man's ego, right? Believe you me, that does something for man's ego. Right? It's all these kids. Big more ones. Basically all these Man's a long complex person, good. Okay? I guess we didn't mention that because we probably don't want the person to skip or mean. I'm sure all of these young men here and older men alike would be told in their lifetime that you look nice, you look handsome, you're physically. So yes, for me personally, and for the others here, it does feel good. It feels good to know that you are admired.
That minute, okay, one more question.
I don't want to speak well. Not great. I like this game and I like really pushing it up here because I am one that I'm not understanding self-esteem. I like to never change. But through the years, I have seen where men have relinquished their role as a man. And this is coming from the Word of God. When you look at what God has mandated or given us a man, they have fallen from that. Satan here was mentioned women raising boys and so on. This is as a result of men relinquishing their role. A lot of problems, societal problems that we encounter these days are because men are not living up to the role by which you're called. And I see it clearly in my line of work. Every time I sit down and examine a file, a family file, there's a lot of selfishness, and because the man does not stand up as a man, being said up front, my father is a man. Be that, right? A man can only be a man, but I do defend his masculine aspect. The aspect of standing tall as a man, being the man, being the leader, being the ruler in the house, being a provider. Not only providing money and so forth, but love, passion. And when he makes his wife or girlfriend happy, I tell you, you will see he will walk like a man in Proverbs 31 that she speaks about. Very good in marketing, whatever work, they will respect you. Men has fallen apart, and this is men on the whole church, men out there in workplaces or that we rub shoulders with and so forth. I'm not saying that we all can do it, but I believe that as Christians, man or woman, where God has given us dominion over everything maybe said about the Garden of Eden, I believe that we need to get back there because we are falling so far. And more important, that's why Satan is attacking the family. Because once he can get the men not to do what they're supposed to do, the women will go under. This is where women are rising up. And then it causes a little trouble. I'm not saying that women cannot attain. They can. And it's good. But they had to do it because the men forsook their roles a long time ago. That's why you have to open for. I would love to know that I could be a housewife and stay home and raising children and doing X-Men or anything. What I would love for, right? What I would love for, and it's nothing like this. Right? And they can see a higher education. I adore a man that goes after these things. Yes, it is part and parcel. Christianity, being spiritual is very, very important. But when you see a man doing that, he's moving forward and like, I don't see shit sailing. Not a man there waiting for me to come and give them this and this because they do not want to stay. They don't want to move ahead towards their head in life. That they feel their ego is hurt and all this egotistical behavior is coming up because the woman wants to move on in life. And look, oh, she ain't had nothing. She had 2 panties and look because she had she plays for you happy. But you know what? But you need to life is about that. It's about moving forward. Right? And it would encourage any man that's in the church, right? And all did it. I would encourage any man within the church, take up the Bible and see Abraham has some wonderful characteristics. But he must have been a man of God. There are others too, and take them up, take on the challenge. I'm trying to be a Proverbs 31 woman. You understand? I'm trying to be like that. More like courtesies and so forth. You know, when you do that, they will rise above and there will be a line of demarcation will not be right here marginal. There will be a clear line of demarcation between men in church and men outside of church.
Okay, thanks so much.
No, there's one question that you have to
say. This is the last point.
I have sat and I have listened and all is well and good. But I am concerned because I am sitting here and I am wondering, I've heard a lot and it's all good like I said, but how many of the men, the older men in our church, and you don't have to answer me, just think about it. How many of you have ever stopped to have a conversation with Brandon? To have a conversation with Nathan? To have a conversation with Kemar? Or even Kevron or Daniel or any of the young or I don't want to call them little boys. Younger boys in our church. How many of you have stopped to do that? I heard some of you talked about camping, going out camping. Have you ever thought about just males going out camping and taking them along and teaching them the ropes as it relates to being a male? I'm just wondering, and following on to that, and following on to this program here this afternoon, what are your intentions going forward as it relates to the younger men in our church? Young, like these younger ones.
I really want to answer the same part of that here, right? Answer my sister. I want to answer my sister. It's 7 minutes past 6. Listen. I have seen men stop and talk to the youngsters. Sometimes they even talk to the youngsters. You know, I mean, we are, a man is not a compliment at right now every single thing. They're talking like that. Alright? Men, I've seen the men speak to the youngsters, speak to the little ones. I've seen the men say, actually, instead of Sunday ministers, I've seen the men talk to the youngsters, talk to the young boys. I would agree that a men's fellowship really falls short in a lot of churches, alright? And because men are really preoccupied with a lot of other things, thus the men's fellowship always getting hurt. Okay? Nevertheless, men do speak to the youngsters. Men do speak to what they mean. Speak to them and listen, I remember, relax now. You ask the question and then the youngster is not here. Right? He's just a little slim fellow. He sit down there, so he's wrong decade for now. And I remember a time he came to church, this year, kind of knocked. You know, kind of knocked. And one of the females, I was about to go up and say something to her here, kind of knocked up. And one of the females, you know, put him on side and straighten it up. You know, okay, but I didn't get to it. Alright? And afterwards, when she had gone, I think, you know, I said, you know, we really should make something a little more decent and things, as far as forming here and things. No money, people there. And I try to show him where these love functions lead. And many men do these things. Sometimes men do not really need to be called keeping account of every single thing they do. And just because a female, and I honestly see this in my wife too. If she don't know that I do it, she assumes I ain't doing it. And I find that in a lot of people, if they don't know me doing, they assume that I have not been done. Sometimes it's been done long time, we just do things, and that's that. And that's how we are.
Like you when you get to her that it has been, sweetheart, what have you asked? It has been done. Too many kids, only
Sis, honestly, right? Honestly, a lot of things that you can't really go down and say all that. Many so, I think one of the major problems is that people want, the other sex want men to think like them. Well, man, it's just not where that person was going.
Alright, the time across the Eastern Caribbean is 10 hours.
I personally find that we as men in the church don't meet enough. Personally, we don't meet. We don't meet warrior. No. I believe that if you want something to be a success, you have to plan. We don't plan nothing. So as the answer is expressed in the book, one of the thoughts of one of the youngsters, you don't talk, period. Men want to talk. No, we talk about, St. talk about men's ministries. I don't know if the pastor can implement it more, to get the gentlemen in the church to come together, have meetings, talk about where the church is at, our responsibilities, what we're supposed to be doing, because at this moment we are lagging back, and the same youngsters coming to church every Sabbath, sitting down, doing the same thing, with nothing to the word and learning from the word. So if we as gentlemen in the church have a responsibility, I feel that we should come together and plan.
And on that note, we can close, because that is also true.
Yes, and it is the time across the Eastern Caribbean.
I just want to add, Sister Janet, because I am sitting here, the panel is talking, and I'm hearing the one young man in this corner. And he's saying things like, but they don't do that? But they don't do that? You understand me? He's 16 years old, growing up in this church. Yes, I am his mother, he has Terry, but I'm telling you, for those of you who may not understand the psychology of children, when they get a certain age, yes, they have their parents there, but sometimes there is another significant other in their life who they would hear too. I'm telling you, Renier, my pastor, says something to Kevron, something that I may be saying to him over and over and over again, and Renier would get through to him more so than I can. So our young men need that. And I sat yesterday as a part of the Teacher Professional Day, and I heard a counselor speaking about the things that are happening with the young men in the world and on the block. And Sister Johnson, let me tell you, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Then I was exposed. Or when I heard some of the things that the young men out there in the world from very young, and the counselor who was there, you know what he said to us? He said, as teachers, y'all have a pivotal role to play, because at the primary level, we can still shape and form. We have too many young boys in primary school who are displaying effeminate behavior. I have one in my class, Janet. He was asked to be a prefect. He was selected as a prefect at the school. I assigned him to a class, and the teacher came to me and said to me, Miss Irene, please move that child from my class. I asked her why. She said the children, I put him to work for class 3. She said my class 3 children do not respect him. He went to the class and he tried to get the children to do what they're supposed to do. And one little girl up and said to him point blank, I want to hear from you as a girl. What? He has no respect because of the way that he carries himself and the way he behaves. Very, very, very effeminate. And we are seeing too many of them in our primary schools. Our men need to step up. Our men in church. I am not bashing men. I love men. You understand me? And I applaud men who do what they're supposed to do as directed by God. We cannot fail our young men, Janet. We cannot. We heard yesterday of one little boy when he was in primary school.
But when he was very young, like toddler, his mother, she was a prostitute, and she took that little boy when she was prostituting, and she put him to lay next to her while she was doing what she was doing. As he grew up, Janice, that little boy one day, because the godmother applied to the court to have custody of him, and when that little boy went to play with the godmother, one day the godmother was laying on her bed, and this little boy jumped on her back with an erection and started banging on his godmother, and the same things that he would have been hearing as he lay next to his mother, he was saying. As he grew up, he taught other young men in his district how to have sex. He went to summer camp, and he taught the young men in summer camp how to do this thing, and that behavior was perpetuated. We need to do something to save the young men in our church. In churches, there's homosexuality. You understand me? And if the men who are men in our church and who are happy to be these Christian men, if they don't do it for our young men, yes, they may have fathers in their homes, but like I said, sometimes another man in the church, a real man in the church, may get through to those children even more so than their fathers are whoever in their homes. And that's a wrap.
I guess we'll go on this evening, right? But in response to Stacey's statement or question earlier, to be fair, my brother Howard did back me up on this, right? When we have retreats, normally the men be in one house, you in another house, right? I have seen Brother Terry and Brother Howard try to do certain things with these young men, right? But you see the Asian, these gadgets and these all these other distractions. I think they should be banned from the retreats we have. That's it, right? If you want to get to Shamar and Brandon and you have the band, if you don't ban them, you can't get them in the kitchen, you can't get them to speak, you can't show them anything, right? I can't get to show them how well they can cook, I can't get to show them because, you know, Maybe go to retreat, right? As big as it is, as big as the kingdom on camera. How it makes this look like, right? Nobody can bring up what it is. Nobody is trying to bring up even at this evangelistic, even if it's a case where I kind of show me how to put together this evangelistic, right? How to show I did it. But when you want these girls to know, can I play? I'm a big man. I'm a big man. I have great power or carry more. I do that. But if you ask me to do anything, I do it. So there's a willingness on your part to want to learn and appreciate what power and therapy others be doing part of it. So, right.
Okay, what I want to close by saying is that God is great and He is good. And this church that we belong to, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, there is no other church like it because it's well-rounded. Our men need not to be impressive. They should know their role. They should be able to cope in their homes, and they should be able to cope in church in leadership roles. There should be no fears, because with God there is no fear. Perfect love casts out all fear. And what I want to say this evening, I want to thank the panelists. I want to thank them very much for their experiences, the facts that they stated, and their opinions. Also, just as we have the woman in Proverbs 31, I would like the gentlemen and the young women, Shamar and Nathan and all those, if you want to know what a real man is. The person is Job. And the chapter is chapter 29. Job speaks of himself as a man, what he knew he should have done in his household, how he conducted himself in society. So if you are falling short anywhere, read Job 29. It gives you a complete picture of what a real Christian man should be like. And I would send out a challenge on the panel and the other males in the congregation to take up Stacey's suggestion. We know that in young people, this is their generation. Sometimes they don't want to do it our way, and they have their way. But we have to work with them. And I'm asking all the males, Christian males here this evening, please work with them, because if we do not work with them, we're going to lose them. And not only that, God is going to hold us accountable for what we should have done, what we did do, and what we refused to do. So, have a good week, and you have been a very good audience, and I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot this evening.
Before Kevin does this thing, Auntie Judy has something she wants to say before Kevin does the closing. I think it needs to be said too.
But Ben spoke this evening just now about the cell phones and gadgets and things, right? I sat in church today and I promised that I was going to speak to the parents of these youngsters that come to church and bring their cell phones to church. And while church is going on, they are texting. Now, when I said that today, Dwayne asked me, told me, maybe they are on the Bible. They are doing. I said no, because the person was speaking, making a point, and no Bible text, nothing. It is just the text, the finger going down the scroll, just scrolling. And I think that parents need to look at that seriously and ask the children to leave the cell phones either in the car or leave them at home, right? But it is something that has to be looked at.
Our closing hymn this evening is number 27 from the Advent
Bye. ask Pastor Moon to give us our closing prayer.
Let us rapidly bow and close our eyes for prayer. Our loving Heavenly Father, we are so thankful that you have reminded us that we are holistic beings. You have made us male and female from the very beginning, and that each gender has a role to play. So please forgive us where we have erred, where we have fallen short, and by your grace lift us up to the standard whereby we as men show forth the example that you would have us to show forth to the younger men and to other men in the church, so that each man would be a man of Christ, one well-rounded and rounded in your precepts, to lead the whole, to be an example to others, so that the females too would know the example of a man that they should choose if they desire to choose such in their lives, so that your family here would be representative of the example it ought to set before the world. So please be with us to this end, and let us join hand in hand to do your bidding. In Jesus' precious name, please. Amen.